Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Such heroic nonsense.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Transformers podcast presented by Calico Productions. And with me, of course, is Kelly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2.
There we go. And my name, of course, is Guy Jessup Braithwaite, and with me tonight is Hendrix the cat.
Hello, Hendrix.
Say hello. Well, tonight we are going to discuss Autobots versus Decepticons.
Of course.
Who is better? Who has the best characters? I think we know the answer. And on the Autobot side tonight, we have Kelly, and on the Decepticon side, we have me. Good luck, dear.
Right, so I'm going first, I take it then.
Well, yes.
Of
I
course.
suppose the good guys can go first.
Okie dokie then. Right, well, I definitely have to say, I am Team Optimus. Well, I say Team Optimus. I'm more Team Rodimus. But that's a whole kettle of fish we will get into later. I definitely have to say, the Autobots for me, definitely you look at the team overall and it just embodies everything that good characters should. They've got a lot of characters in there that come across as innocent to the point of naivety.
Yes.
I mean, Bumblebee in G1 especially was very he was always getting into trouble, but more so out of curiosity than anything else.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that, you've got someone like Cliffjumper who, is basically a palette swap of Bumblebee, and he's always, he took the first shot at Megatron in the first few episodes.
Yeah, he's up for it. He's always up for it.
It's like you go from the innocent childlike kind of character to the almost Rambo-esque character almost within a split second.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely shows that the Autobots, like I said, encompass all the kind of things you expect, almost to a trope to a certain extent of what good guys really should be. I mean, Optimus Prime, just
He's dead, isn't he?
Hands down, best leader ever. I mean, as much as I love Rodimus, I gotta say, Optimus, no better leader.
He is.
No better leader.
And Pete Cullum keeps getting the gig.
Yes, he does. And as long as he keeps doing it, I will keep enjoying it. I mean, there's been others over the years. Like the new one that they did recently on Netflix, the War for Cybertron trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that the guy sounded like he was trying to do a Peter Cullen impression.
He so was a bit.
But it did come across that way in certain lines, not in everything. The way he said certain things, it was like, that is so Peter Cullen. It's got that same kind of tone to it. And it's just like, oh. But on the flip side of that, the Megatron that they did for the new series wasn't better than Frank Welker, but it was an interesting take. That almost quiet, almost stoic.
Yeah, he's very thoughtful for a Megatron.
And I must admit, I do like the bit. Spoilers if you've not watched it, so skip ahead.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
The bit where he's got Ultra Magnus's head on the table.
Yeah.
And he's just finished arguing with someone. And after they leave, he looks over at the head and he goes, "Don't look at me like that." It was just like...
Love it.
You're losing the plot a little bit there, mate. You're talking to a severed head, like, don't look at me like that.
He's always been losing plot. Megatron's always been on the edge.
Oh, Christ, yeah. Yeah. I mean, his motives were never very clear in G1. It's like, yeah, you want your energy on, but why? Like, what's the end
Take
goal?
over and destroy.
Yeah, exactly. Just to destroy. But I will say, I do like that in later kind of incarnations of Transformers, as, the storytelling improved over the generations. You get up to something like Transformers Prime. I think that Megatron is on par with the original Megatron because he's scary and aggressive, but like you said, also borderline unhinged.
Yeah.
So you get that threat, but he also has an end goal at the end of it. It's like he's going after these things, not just because it's Energon and they need it. It's like they need it for this reason.
Yeah.
And that's why I must admit, I fell out of Transformers kind of back end of Beast Wars. When it went from Beast Wars to Beast Machines, that's when it lost me. I was just like, it's getting too computer animated. It's getting too convoluted. It's getting just too out there. I just didn't enjoy it. But then I caught Transformers Prime on Cartoon Network. Just randomly flicking through the channels, came across it, and I was like, oh, it's a new Transformers cartoon. And I was hooked, like that. And it was like, I said, like the way I pitched it to people who hadn't seen it, I was like, basically think of it as this generation's version of G1.
Yeah.
It sort of takes cues from the films, but it's not 100% faithful to the films. Like some of the design, like the Optimus, his design for the truck was a long nose truck rather than a flat nose truck. So you get all that. But I love Transformers Prime. So
yeah, it's good. It is good.
Right. So go on then, Guy. Fight for the Decepticon cause.
The Decepticons are the best.
Why though?
Well, for a start, they kicked the bloody Autobots off Cybertron, didn't they?
All right. Okay. Point one.
And let's see. Point two. Insecticons.
True.
Constructicons. They got the Gestalt technology first.
That is very true. Very true. And then you've got the Combaticons as well. Bruticus. I did like Bruticus.
Yeah, we'll not mention. We'll brush over Dinosaur because bit pants.
Yeah.
Where was the Autobot combiners? Where were they, Kelly?
I think in the original series they didn't really show up until sort of season 3 and the Japanese series 4.
Actually, season 2.
Oh yeah, you had
Aerialbots and the Protectobots.
That was it. Yeah, season 2. But they really came into prominence kind of series 3 and more so in the Japanese markets as well. But there was later ones like Computron and things like that, and then
Yawn.
That actually kind of leads us onto the Headmasters, which kind of was a series over here, but kind of wasn't.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we got the first
4 or 5 actually.
Pardon?
4 or 5 episodes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got the first part of the Headmasters series, and then when that finished in Japan, it carried on.
Yeah.
Here, it didn't. There was a gap, and then we got Beast Wars.
Yes, we had the dark times.
Yes, the dark times in the 90s where Transformers content was still
0.
around.
Yeah. It was VHSs, I think, of G1.
Yeah, I mean, I remember right when DVDs started becoming like the in thing. I remember going into places like Poundland and picking up like compilation DVDs where it was like 4 episodes from different seasons.
Yeah.
It was different seasons because the opening was different for each one.
Yeah.
That was about it. And then they did the box sets and things like that, which were were easy to get hold of, but they were quite expensive at the time. I remember season 1 when it first came out on DVD was like 50, 60 quid.
Something like that. Was that the silver one?
Hold on, I'll just grab it off the shelf.
Yeah.
That one.
Yes. That's the
when that first came out, it was ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, over the years, I've been really on and off with Transformers, but whenever I've gone back to it, I've always instantly remembered why I loved it in the first place. And that always, for me, comes down to select characters. And again, this is me being Team Autobot. Pretty much all the characters that I really kind of gravitate towards are all on the Autobot side. I mean, you've got Hot Rod, Cup, RC, Optimus, Grimlock. Me, Grimlock. I love a bit of Grimlock. I love a bit of Grimlock. So,
well, don't get me wrong, Dinobot's great, especially when they first got introduced because they were just ass kickers.
Oh Christ, yeah. Grimlock always tries to take over.
Yeah, and the problem is by the time they got to the movie, they've been reduced to children.
Yeah, pretty much. Although
Dumbass Chewie.
I do like the bit right at the back end of the film where it's he flies out the ship, they're fighting Unicron, and he goes, "Me and Grimlock want to kick butt," and he literally double kicks Unicron's ass, and it's like, yes, you do kick ass, Grimlock. You fucking do kick ass.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But sort of me bouncing over to your side for a little while, I'll have to say my favorite Decepticons. I don't want to count it as one, but it kind of is Devastator.
Yeah.
Just Devastator, just the character when it's combined, not so much the individual Constructicons. I mean, they're okay, but like the first time you see that one in an episode, it's like,
yeah, wow.
They come in extra large sizes now, and then when you see them all combine and go together, the first time you ever see that, like I remember being not very old at all, maybe 5 or 6, seeing that for the first time properly and just being like, oh,
yeah,
wow. So like, oh, and another one, we talked about him quite a little bit last time, Soundwave.
Oh, I love Soundwave.
Yes, I mean,
do love him.
There's been so many incarnations of that character. I mean, I have to say, when it comes to Transformers, no matter how many times you reboot it or restart or they do something different with it, you can guarantee that there's going to be sort of about 5 or 6 core characters that they will always do that iteration of. There's always going to be an Optimus and a Megatron. There's always going to be an Ironhide type character, not specifically called Ironhide, but
but he's there. It's him.
Like Bulkhead in Prime, he was very much the Ironhide of the group. He was the big bruiser. He had a fucking mace for a fist. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know. So, but yeah, so go on, carry on fighting your side.
How can we not mention Starscream?
Of course. They're lovely.
He's awesome. He's power hungry. He's ambitious. Megatron has tripped over. I am the new leader of the Decepticons.
It's pretty fucking. I will say, I was watching the Netflix series with one of my friends when it first came out. We sat and watched it, and he got to the end of it, and he was like, "Is it just me, or is Starscream in this series kind of wrote to be just a little bit racist?" And I was like, "What would you mean?" He's like, "Well, I get it. He's a Decepticon. He's meant to be evil." But like, he's having a go at fellow Decepticons for not being flying vehicles.
Yeah.
I was like, you're kind of right, actually. He's really kind of disrespecting
He's
even his
always had. He's always had that chip on his shoulder for flying.
Exactly. And I know when he mentioned it to me, I kind of flashed back to stuff during the Prime series and like a few earlier series. And I was like, that is actually a good point. Like, he's always looked down on people with 4-wheeled vehicle modes. So I think maybe Starscream is just a little bit. He's the Transformers equivalent of a racist, really. He's like, you got wheels? Oh no, go away.
Cybertronian racism.
Yeah, he's carist.
Yeah. Wheels.
Wheelsist. Your doors open sideways.
That's enough.
Yeah, I can take off vertically.
But then, if you're going to say Starscream, you also have to chuck in Thundercracker and Skywarp. Yes, it's the same model. Yes, okay, fair enough. Yes, there has been so many repaints of him in the toys.
Oh, God, yeah.
But Thundercracker's a miserable old git, and Skywarp's just a mouthy teenager. Love it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
they're a little family.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, I must admit, some of the stuff within the Decepticons, when they're sort of bickering and arguing amongst themselves in certain episodes, it really does come across more as a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
It's like Married with Children on Cybertron.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Great. It just comes across that way. Like Starscream's the bitchy mom. You know, Megatron's the uncaring dad. You know, the guy's just there like, I'm only here because divorce is too expensive. You know,
That's it.
That type. But then you flip over to the Autobots, and it's a very family dynamic, but it's almost the polar opposite. It's the loving, embracing, like every moment is to be cherished kind of family. Oh
yeah, they are the functional family.
Yeah, you know, and you see it with some of the character interactions. And I know that it's never been explicitly said, but they do kind of mention, like, they call each other brothers and things like that when they're talking. But then you start looking at the character designs and you think, yeah, you could see that those two would be related, like Sunstreaker and Sideswipe. Yeah, exact same wavelength of me. I actually have a Sideswipe.
Yay, there he is.
Do you know what, right? This was actually the first of the new lines that I bought. I was in Smith's Toys. They had it going for like 18 quid. And I was like, I've always liked Sideswipe. Why not?
There you go.
And then I ended up with a shelf absolutely full of the damn things. But no, so like I said, you look at those two character designs and you can be like, yeah, you could see that they would be, you know, if Transformers are related in like a brother-sister kind of way, you could see that they would be, you know, very closely related.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of the Seekers, especially, like going over to the Decepticon side. Like you said, they are literally just repaints of the same figure, same animation model. When I was watching the original series last week, I actually noticed there was an animation mistake where there's two Starscreams stood next to each other, but as one of them talks, it's blatantly Thundercracker's voice. And I was just like, oops. Yeah,
there's a few of those.
Oh, God, yeah. But you could really see them being all connected somehow. And that kind of leads us on to, I suppose, characters that are related but are on opposite sides of the line.
Ratchet and Thundercracker. They're both grumpy old gits.
Oh, yeah.
Ratchet especially. No, here we go. Big shoe load up again. Right, come on.
Yeah.
Form an orderly queue.
Here's a nice little bit of trivia not many people know. Ratchet was actually called Ratchet because it was going to be an homage to Nurse Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, cool.
And originally the character design was going to be female. So Ratchet was meant to be the first female Autobot before RC.
Yeah.
But at the last minute, the production guys changed their mind and went, let's make it like a big combat medic type.
Yeah.
Purely because at the time they didn't, I think, I'm not 100% on this, but what I remember hearing was they didn't know how to explain two genders within a robotic race. And that leads on to a whole other conversation that I think could have its own episode, really, of gender in Transformers.
Gender politics in Transformers.
Yeah, there's so much you can get tangled up with, because I know the introduction of RC was handled very differently in different markets. And I know I can't remember whether it was Marvel UK or whether it was the US comics, but it come under a lot of flack because of the way it handled the storyline of introducing RC. Was basically a bunch of feminists turned around to the Transformers and said, why don't you have any lady Transformers? So they built RC, made her bright pink and white, very overtly feminine, presented it to the feminists, and the feminists were unhappy because she was overtly sexualized. You flash forward 20 years, and if you look online if you just type in fan art RC, you're going down a rabbit hole you may not want to go down on that one.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, and I've actually seen like action figure kits where they, just
don't need it.
Just don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah.
Neither Autobots nor Decepticons need that shit.
No, they don't.
But talking about RC actually jumps us over to the Decepticons, where we can talk about Nightbird.
Oh, Nightbird, yes.
It was basically
not technically a Transformer.
No, not technically a Transformer, but She's had
created on
action
Earth.
figures throughout the years,
Yeah.
so.
Well, that's the thing. So that's the thing. All of a sudden, do you know Transformers Earth Wars, the game?
Yes.
Yeah. All of a sudden, she's a Decepticon in that. And so, well, hold on. No, she's not. She was created on Earth. What? Why are we changing things?
I think Earth Wars was the game takes an awful lot from the comic books. My understanding is in the comic books, she is actually a character, a pre-existing character before. Because I've never read many of the comics. I've only got like two, I think 1 or 2 issues of it.
I've read quite a few online.
I mean, the one I read most recently is where Megatron becomes an Autobot.
Yeah, that's in the IDW. Yeah, that's great.
What I mean. A lot of Earth Wars takes a lot from the IDW comic books, and I think in the storyline of IDW, Nightbird is a pre-existing character because IDW doesn't really follow the G1 continuity. Kind of, it's making up its own thing as it went along.
Yeah.
But I am going to have to get hold of some comic books and definitely give them a read and a review on my channel.
Yes, do so.
So, right.
Which is, and your channel, which is?
Callie's Collectible Reviews here on YouTube.
Cheap plug.
Oh, yes. A little bit of self-promotion. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But, right, so let's springboard then, and we'll go for best Autobot from G1 from your perspective and best Decepticon from my perspective.
Okay. For me, on your best side, Braun.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I can agree with you.
He's always up for the fight, and he's hard as a bloody coffin nail.
Exactly.
Apart from in the movie.
Yeah, where he's the first one down. Literally first one gone down. But now he in some ways reminds me, animation wise anyway, almost like an 80s precursor to how Wolverine was in the X-Men cartoon in the 90s.
Yeah, definitely.
That short, stocky, bad attitude little fucker who may not always win the fight, but will always throw himself into the fight.
Yeah.
You know, and you see that very much, like if you look at the two characters in comparison to each other, there's very much a correlation of they both are fighting purely because they can. You know, that's the be all and end all of it. My perspective,
I always liked.
from my perspective onto your side, I would definitely have to say, gotta think about this one for a second now. Oh, there's so many good Decepticons, but picking like the one that I think is like Astro Train.
Yeah.
Because
can't be a good triple changer.
The thing that got me in the movie, right? And my friend pointed this out when we were kids. I was like, you know what? I've never actually thought about that. He mentioned that like they all get in the back of Astro Train so they can fly back to Cybertron. When they're arguing in the back of the fucking shuttle, the Constructicons actually combine into Devastator in the back of Astro Train. And my friend actually, we were just watching the film and he just casually turned around and went, if he's big enough to carry all of them, why doesn't he just turn into his robot mode and kick the crap out of them? If he's that big to carry all of them in combine mode, surely
that's the mass shifting
mode, he's like twice the size of Devastator. Surely. I was like, got a good point there. But then again, mass shifting in Transformers G1 continuity. I mean, you had Megatron who was like, turned into a handgun for another Transformer, and Soundwave who turned into literally a cassette player that a person could carry around. I mean,
exactly.
You got to throw the laws of physics out the window. So that probably doesn't make the greatest case, but still, it does raise the point of if he can carry all of them, why isn't he in charge?
That's the thing. Well, it's 80s cartoons. You can't think too much.
And he pretty much disappeared out of the cartoon after that. I
know. Which was a shame because I always had a soft spot.
You see him very briefly during the coronation of Starscream.
Yeah.
Stood up at the back somewhere. But after that whole conflab goes on there, where, here's a hint, boom.
Yeah.
After all that, pretty much the only Decepticons you see from that point on are, surprisingly, the new ones. Because, you know, it
Well,
was a 90-minute toy commercial at
yes.
the end of it.
Sorry, folks, we've got toys to push.
Yeah. And that, I suppose, swings us nicely round to the, we talked about it a little bit last week, the backlash that Hasbro suffered due to the destruction of so many childhoods.
Yes, bless them. Because all of a sudden, the Decepticons have got one-shot kills.
Yes. To be fair, though, I mean, not really sticking up for them because I was traumatized as a kid first time seeing it. But there definitely was, you know, from a business standpoint, you've got all these new lines in. You're not making the old ones anymore. You've got to keep the line going. You've got to turn a profit. You're a business.
Yep.
Best way to do that is wipe out the old product, replace it with the new product, rather than phase it out slowly. You know, just do it with this big one event, get it done and out of the way. But then the death of Optimus scene hits, and you know it hit hard. I mean, I can imagine if a film like this came out now with that kind of scene in it, with such a beloved character, it would break the internet.
Oh, of course it would, yeah.
You know, back then we didn't have the internet, so it was just word of mouth and seeing the thing for yourself. And there's stories of like kids locking themselves in their rooms for like 2 or 3 weeks and barely eating because they were that devastated.
Yeah.
And Hasbro like had to quick back foot pivot and be like, "Oh shit, we fucked up." And when we were talking,
Bring it back.
When we were talking to Theo about it last week, he said that on the UK cut, they actually definitively right at the end of the film go, "Yeah, Optimus will return."
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, damage control.
Yeah.
But that's
the thing.
No. And again, this is me fighting for Team Optimus. That I think just goes to show the impact the character had. Because you've got to remember, the film came out in '86. The show had only been going for about 2 or 3 years at that point. You know, it's not like it is today with streaming services and things like that. Like we were talking about it last time, where you had to catch it at the right time to get the full episode, and that was once a week if you were lucky. So back then, you know, to have that much of a love for the character shows how engaging the character was.
Yeah.
And you can understand the reaction and why people are so, even to this day, people watch that who have never seen it and they're like, "Oh, that's difficult to watch." It's like, yeah, but imagine being 6 and seeing that. You know, it's hard. It hits hard.
Oh, well.
Megatron's death was you know.
Well, is it a death? Really?
Well, no. I must admit though, I do like his you know, Unicron calls him in. "Nobody summons Megatron. It pleases me to be the first."
Be the first, yeah.
Oh, know your place, bitch.
And was it your bargaining posture is questionable?
No, I know the line off by heart. "Your bargaining posture is highly dubious."
That was it. There you go. I was close.
Fuck, I can even do that.
Hey, you know, drinky.
Nothing wrong with that. You're drinking whatever you're drinking. I'm having a nice cup of tea.
I'm on vodka and Coke, dear.
So, speaking of the movie, and we got a whole new cast. Rodimus versus Galvatron.
Yeah, well, Galvatron.
Did it live up to the rivalry of Optimus and Megatron?
No.
I don't think it did either.
No.
I don't think that's the film's fault though. I think that's the preceding seasons after it.
Yeah, definitely. Because
we've talked about
season 3.
Yeah, they dropped the ball big time with it.
Gotcha.
And it just, I can't really remember much of season 3 because that's how little of an impression it left on me, and I've not watched it in years. But like, I just remember like the first episode where they go to find Galvatron, and they literally do it by, I think, what was it, hacking into Unicron's brain and watching literally a clip from the film to see where Rodimus threw him.
Yeah.
Follow that trajectory, and then when they find him, he just steps out of a lava pit like he's literally just stepped out the shower. Like, what are you bastards doing here?
Yeah. Stop disturbing my bath.
Yeah, literally, he's like in a lava bath. Like, what are you doing here? I didn't invite you. You know, and
Go away.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
I'm
local,
licking me wounds.
yeah, this is a local volcano for local people. We don't want your kind of riffraff around here. But I think Galvatron in the movie, voiced by the absolute legend that was Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard,
Yeah.
we salute you.
Live long and prosper, my man. Live long and prosper. But honestly, it took me a very long time to realize who that was. Because like even watching the film like for years and years and years as a kid, you don't correlate that Mr. Spock is Leonard Nimoy and Leonard Nimoy is Galvatron. You don't put that together as a kid. It wasn't until years later that I was actually watching Star Trek and said, Leonard Nimoy, where do I know that name from? And about 2 days later, I watched the Transformers the movie and it came up on the credits. I was like, oh, no way. So Spock is Galvatron. Like,
Yep.
Oh, okay. And Eric Idle as Wreck-Gar.
Yeah.
That was
I've got another one of those as well. G1, Bumblebee, the voice of Bumblebee, Mr. Dan Gilson, was also Spider-Man in the 80s series.
Yes, he was.
And Frank Welker was as Iceman. Not Iron Man, Iceman.
Yes. Here's one that everybody knows it, but I think it's still fascinating sometimes. Peter Cullen doing Optimus and Ironhide. Because that just means like the literal opening for the movie is Peter Cullen talking to himself.
Yes.
Because for the first couple of minutes, it's just Optimus and Ironhide chatting about it's like, do you think he recorded that in one go? Like you've got to do both characters. Can I just do it in one take?
It wouldn't surprise me if he did.
Yeah.
Really wouldn't.
Bounce back and forth between the two voices. And seeing as you're a Predator fan, Peter Cullen did the noises for the Predator.
I did not know that.
Yes, he did. If you watch the film, especially it doesn't say Predator voice, it says Predator special vocalization effects. Peter Cullen. And there's actually
there you go.
There's interviews on YouTube with him where he actually talks about how he did it. And I won't spoil it for you. I'll let you go check them out on your own. But they are actually kind of funny because as loud as they come across in the film, that's not how loud they were when he was actually doing them. So it's really interesting to hear that, the Predator sound effects you heard that were really, really like boom. Were actually when they were done in real life with these little tiny quiet noises you could barely hear. So I was just like, oh, okay, that's interesting to know. So
see, it all ties together.
Yep. It's the multiverse. That's what it is.
It is.
Yeah. And plus, that could tie us into crossovers because I would love to see a Predator versus Transformers crossover. I think that could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Especially
there's a bit of a height difference, but bit of a height difference, but
well, I don't know. I mean, Predators in the comics can take down T-Rexes, so
yeah, sure. Ooh, Hasbro.
Plus, especially if it's the Bayformers, then the Predators can win that fight. They can win that fight. And that leads us nicely into the Bayverse.
Do we have to? Do we have to?
I think we'll briefly touch upon it. We'll go through the films one by one and just do what we liked, what we didn't.
Right. Okay.
The 07 film.
What we liked. Peter Cullen.
I must admit, I did like Peter Cullen because at that point, I think it was the first time he'd voiced the character in quite some time.
Yeah.
And it was, as soon as I heard that he was doing it, I was like, I'm watching it. Hands down. And I must admit, he saved the film to a certain extent. I liked some of the more comedic elements because they came at just the right times. In later films, it was just joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can agree with you on that one, Peter Cullen.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about it, Starscream looking like a silver Dorito.
Yes. What the hell was that?
And Megatron, I can appreciate the jet mode. I liked the jet mode that he turned into. But the actual robot mode design, it just wasn't like the Optimus. You could look at that and go, yeah, that's Optimus Prime.
Mm.
The Megatron, you'd look at the design for that character, you'd be like, could it be Megatron?
Yeah.
Don't know. So I wasn't overly keen. So yeah, robot designs, hit and miss.
Oof, mostly miss.
Yeah. The second film, Dark of the Moon, I think it is.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Was the second one Dark of the Moon, or was that the third one? That was the third one.
Oh,
the second one was Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only thing I liked about that was RC made her big screen debut on that one. She was one of the motorbikes.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
That's the only thing I liked about that, because that's one of my other favorite characters is RC. I've got a couple of them down here somewhere. So yeah, I liked it for that. Oh, and Tony Todd voicing the Fallen. I am a big Tony Todd fan. So,
yeah, he did a good job.
You know, got to give it up to the voice cast yet again.
Yeah, exactly. Because let's face it, Shia LaBeouf isn't that there was any fails.
No, which is why Dark of the Moon for me is just nah.
Dark of the Moon is the ultimate Doom from G1.
Yeah. The only thing I really liked about that was the fact that Shockwave popped up in it.
Yeah.
With that big giant snake thing that he had. That I liked that. That was like, yeah, you want to bring in Shockwave? This is why they call him Shockwave. You know. And then God, what was it after that?
Oh, The Last Night.
Age of Extinction, Last Night. Though both of those just
good God.
I liked the fact that for a little while Optimus was the flat-nosed truck. That's about it.
Yeah.
I did not like any of the rest of it. It was too... And Kelsey Grammer just... really?
Yeah.
What the actual fudge? You know? But Bumblebee.
Now that first 10, 15 minutes on Cybertron?
Yes.
Want
more of that. I want more of that. And that was the first thing I said. The first time I seen it, I paused it after it got to when he first landed on Earth. I paused it at that bit and I turned around to my friend and went, we need more of that. The next time they do a Transformers film, I really do think it should be a prequel to Bumblebee and it should just be set on Cybertron. Because this is the thing that's always bugged me about the live action films. It was kind of there in the cartoons a little bit. Like the humans were there and they were interacting with the Transformers because it was a way for getting the audience in with these big robots. But we watched it to see the big robots fight.
Yes, we did.
Let's face it. And I think the films focus way too much on human characters and not enough on the Transformers. So that when legendary name characters pop up in the films, they're in it for all of 30 seconds. They're killed off pretty much straight away. And because we haven't got a chance to get to see them as characters, apart from Bumblebee, Optimus, and a couple of others, when these names like RC pops up at the beginning, gone through the most of the film, pops up at the end to get ripped apart, it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like a big name character like that, and you literally... Who's next? Do you want to bring in Omega Supreme just to wave in the camera at the background? Well, yeah. You know, it's just... seems stupid to me. So I really do think the next film, I mean, I know the new one coming out, Rise of the Beast, which is basically the Bay versus the Beast Wars, which I'll wait for streaming services. I'm not going to go, I'm not paying cinema prices for that.
No way.
No, but I think if they do a prequel to Bumblebee, it really should just be, you know, the...
Cybertron.
Yeah, I mean, the video games, for War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Were perfect for converting into a film because it literally, the first one shows you how Optimus becomes Optimus Prime and how Megatron gets hold of the Dark Energon. The second one is literally the Autobots and the Decepticons leaving Cybertron. You know, they could have done, because they showed that at the start of Bumblebee. That could be where it jumps over and crosses over, and it just set it on Cybertron. Show us Transformers kicking the shit out of each other and transforming, and give us an actual character-driven story, not just they're a big robot, they're fighting. Yeah. That's it. That's all you need. Boom, 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 explosions. We don't want that. The Netflix series, look at that.
Yeah, so much better.
Character-driven.
and on model.
Yeah, I was actually talking to my friend Colin about it, and I was telling him about some of the new figures. He was like, oh, I don't know, because like, you know, Transformers. I was like, yeah, but dude, this is probably the first time in Transformers where what you see on screen is what you have in hand. They've literally like modeled the toys after the models from the show. And okay, there are some instances where they've used gap fillers on the animation. Whereas on a toy, you need that because things have got to go in places.
Yeah.
But no, like you said, I think it's so good that you can buy these toys for your kids. You can sit and watch the show with your kids, and then they can look at the character in the hand and be like, that's what I'm seeing.
That's it.
We didn't have that as kids.
Oh, God, no. Some of those toys.
Megatron with his trigger crotch.
Yeah.
That toy has not aged well.
No.
I have actually seen a lot of Robot Chicken sketches where it's like, quick, fire my gun. And he stands there and you've got like Starscream like whacking the trigger, and you've got all the rest of the Decepticons kind of slowly backing away.
Yeah.
Like, we be in the room. So yeah, it is so awesome to see Transformers actually being what you see on screen.
Yeah, definitely.
We didn't have that. So, all right, I think we're going to wrap it up here now nicely.
I think so, yeah.
Just to finish things off, we'll go with one last kind of vote to a certain extent.
Yeah.
If you could see one character from either side swap places,
Ooh.
who and what do you think they'd be like if they were on the opposite side? If like from the get-go in canon, they were always a Decepticon or always an Autobot, who do you think which characters and what would they be like?
I'd like to see Mirage, the Decepticon.
Yes, that would be interesting, especially with his cloak ability. I'd see him, if he was a Decepticon, I would definitely see him as being very pally with Soundwave, because he'd be like a spy like he is.
That's the thing.
I could see them two almost having like Thundercracker and Skywarp are with each other. You'd have that with Mirage and Soundwave, because they'd be very sneaky. So I could definitely see that. I think swapping over from the Decepticon side over to the Autobots, I'd like to see Shockwave.
Shockwave the Autobot. Yeah.
Given his loyalty and the fact that if you watch the original series, the 4 million years between them leaving and them waking up on Earth, you get Cybertron running pretty much on his fucking own.
Yeah.
That kind of dedication, but you put it to the side of good. What the fuck could he accomplish? You know.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, I can imagine, because he's quite scientific in that. Like, I could see him and Ratchet and Wheeljack. Dinobots. How about a fucking, how about an aircraft carrier? It's
a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So, plus, I think it's always fun to just think palette swap of get Optimus and Megatron to swap places.
Yeah. Like you're saying, we've seen Autobot Megatron in the comics.
Yeah. Well, there is actually there is a comic book storyline, Transformed Shattered Glass, where there's still Autobots and Decepticons, but the Autobots are evil and the Decepticons are the good guys.
Yeah.
And Hasbro are now actually starting to put out figures of that. And the one that I'm really kind of interested in is the Shattered Glass Blur. He's got like scars on one side of his face and an eye patch. And the figure's just got this look on his face of like, this is someone who is not all there.
Yeah. All like that.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
Cool.
All right then. So we'll wrap it up like that then.
Yes. Well, that'll about do us for tonight. And we will be back pretty much next week, I would guess.
Possibly week after, because next week I've got the dentist, and then at the weekend we've got Comic-Con.
Yes, that's true. Actually, yeah. So
So-
we'll need to.
Yeah, things might be postponed for a week or so.
Yes, but if we come back from Comic Con, we'll try and find lots of Transformery stuff for you.
That we will.
So then, dear viewers, we will let you go, and we will see you soon. So good night from Kelly,
Good night, everybody.
and it's good night from me and Hendrix, who's gone to sleep. Of course,
Aww.
yes. Right, we'll see you soon, folks. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Such heroic nonsense.